For my next project, I get to work on a Mac for the first time. And not just any Mac, it's the Professional Series 8-inch chef knife with dimples, model number MTH-80. And I thought I'd take the opportunity to unbox it and give my first impressions on camera. I've heard a lot of good things about Mac knives in general, but I've never had the opportunity to see one up close and personal. And even just with this packaging, I'm really excited to get into it. The knife is presented beautifully in a black gift box that's got a rough texture to it. And when you open the box, the knife is presented front and center. It's covered with this beautiful cardboard sleeve. And again, they've done gold foil on all of the characters. But it's time for the moment of truth. And yep, that's what it's supposed to look like. Let me get this tip guard off and then we'll get into it. The overall length is 32.1 centimeters, and 20 centimeters of that is the blade. For the Imperialists, that's approximately 12.6 inches overall length and 7.9 inches approximately for the blade length. And that leaves 12.1 centimeters, 4.8 inches, for the handle area, including the bolster and the area between the bolster and the heel of the knife. The back of the handle is straight as an arrow, but on the sculpted side it gently tapers from 2.1 centimeters at the bolster to 2.9 centimeters at the butt. And compared to the knives that I'm used to, this handle is positively dainty, and I kind of love it. I mean, first and foremost, it still fits very comfortably in my hand, that's the major thing. But the proportions of the handle to the blade are just really satisfying. The whole knife just feels visually balanced and harmonious. And because of that thinner handle profile, you actually buy yourself a bit of knuckle clearance as well. The blade is 4.9 centimeters wide, so not quite 2 inches, and the handle averages out to about an inch. With the heel resting completely flat, you have about an inch of clearance there, around 2.5 centimeters. And as you rock forward on the belly of the blade, you buy yourself a lot of room indeed. So in a weird way, this knife might also be worth checking out if you've got larger hands. Looking along the spine of the knife, we have the handle coming in at 2.1 centimeters, or 0.8 inches, and it maintains that width for most of its length, but approaching the bolster, it gently tapers into 1.3 centimeters, or about half an inch. Onto the blade itself, the spine is 2 millimeters right at the bolster, and it very gradually tapers down to 1 millimeter right where the curve begins on the spine, and then it continues more aggressively to the point. Looking at the scale, this knife weighs in at 193 grams, or 6.8 ounces, so not really a heavy weight by any means. Still, it feels pretty substantial in the hand, and the weight rests comfortably in your grip. The balance point rests right on the curve of the bolster, so when I snug my finger up to it, the blade wants to gently fall backwards into my hand. But if my finger's on the bolster itself, then the knife wants to tip forward. Knife balance is definitely a point of preference, so I'll let you decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. As far as specs go, the only thing left to talk about is the materials. And I'll start with the great mystery of the handle. I've seen the knife listed with a handle material as pack-a-wood, and to be honest, that might be the case. I mean, I don't know if I would be able to tell the difference just by looking at a piece of wood. I'm not a woodologist. But on the website or anything official from Mac, I can't find a material listed anywhere. So at the end of the day, I don't really know what it is. All I know is that it looks like wood, it's very dense, and it's soft to the touch. If you're not familiar, pack-a-wood is like an umbrella term for wood that was impregnated with resin. So even if that's what it is, there aren't really any clues as to the type of wood, resin, or dyes that were used to make the handle. I suspect I'd have better luck researching this if I knew Japanese. Looking into the steel was a very different story. On their website, they say that Mac blades are made from rust-resistant, chrome, molybdenum, vanadium, high-carbon culinary steel, with tungsten added to selected models for extra durability and sharpness. Thanks for nothing. Needless to say, I had to do some digging, and I found out that the steel that they use is AUS 8. With a little more digging on Mac's website, I found out that this particular blade isn't their original steel, quote-unquote, it's their superior steel. When I looked into it, I found out that the superior stuff is the same steel, the AUS 8, but it's got an extra process done to it, a sub-zero tempering. Now, I've heard of Sub-Zero tempering. I hear it's really great for the blades, and they quench the blade in liquid nitrogen or something else that can get really, really freaking cold. I'm a little fuzzy on the actual mechanics, though. Something about turning austenite into martensite or something like that. So it's actually pretty cool that they do this extra step in the process for this blade. And looking into the AUS-8, it's actually pretty great as well. They say that the vanadium helps to improve the tensile strength of the steel. Apparently its impact strength is also improved. It's got a decent amount of chromium and some manganese in it, so apparently the corrosion resistance is pretty good. And they say that the optimal hardness for the steel is between 57 and 61 Rockwell C. So, do with that what you will. By all accounts, it's commonly accepted as good steel to use. So we've seen the knife, we know what it's made of, sort of. And the last question for the curious knife nut is, how did they make it? And it's not really a secret, Mac makes their knives by doing stock removal. So instead of using forges and hammers to shape the metal, they take their design, cut it out of a piece of stock, and then grind it down to its final shape. They do outline their production process on their alternate site, and it looks like they use a press to punch out their blade profiles. They must have custom dies made for each of the blade shapes. And in a process like this, it's not really feasible to make knives with bolsters, actually. So they weld the bolsters on at some point and then blend them into the rest of the knife. Now, I know people have feelings about forged versus stock removal. I'm not going to get into it. If you've got opinions and you need to air them, you can do it in the comments, I guess. Overall, I'm really impressed with the design and the feel. The bolster and these chunky rivets add a good amount of weight to the handle, and the blade itself is light, maneuverable, and sharp. On their website, they boast about their hybrid edge, which I thought was really interesting when I was reading about it. So you're probably familiar with a single bevel edge and a Western V-shaped edge. And these guys just split the difference and do an off-center edge. I actually forgot about this until I was looking down the edge of the blade and I saw it, and then I remembered and went back to the website to confirm. And yeah, it's definitely sharp. I get the feeling that most people will have trouble maintaining this special edge. My best guess is that people just put like a regular 15 degree or 20 degree angle, whatever they want, onto it once they need to sharpen it. But it's a cool edge to start with, and bonus points if you can maintain it, I guess. Either way, with the reputation of the steel, it should keep whatever edge you put on it for a decent amount of time. With a keen new edge and such a thin spine, this thing really moves through food. But if you're used to a heavier knife right now, you might be surprised at how much you do have to push, and that's honestly just a weight difference thing. For softer foods like the cucumber, it just glides on through, but with something denser like a carrot, you're obviously going to be pushing more. Either way, I never had to fight to get this knife through anything. The blade only has a subtle curve, so it's great for push cuts, which I appreciate. And yeah, I don't really know what else to tell you. Personally, I'm impressed by this thing, and I'm excited to work on it. In my next video, I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and I want to move this Inken to the other side. I'll be working on this side, so unfortunately I'm going to have to clean off their maker mark. But I want to preserve their stamp, because it's really cool. Anyways, that's it for now. I hope this was useful for someone. If you want to see what I do with this thing next, make sure you subscribe. Videos come when they come. But I've already got some really cool ideas for this one, and I can't wait to get into it. I've actually started sketching already, but I just got to catch up with the videos. So yeah, have a good one.